I spent the day at a brand new comic book show, Elite_Comics 11, big on IG. They did their first expo at St. John's University in Queens, New York. And I went and I picked up some bigger books for the PC. I had a lot of fun. Let's break it down on this video from Bronzeville Comics. We're here in Queens, New York on the campus of St. John's University. And I am here for the first ever Elite Comic Show. Elite Comics, Elite_11? Or Elite Comic Sales? They have an underscore and they have an 11 somewhere. I believe it's in the field house right here. That's my guess. So we're gonna check out the show. We have some buddies who are vendors here, but it's a little bit different than other local shows because people are coming from all over that are regulars and can sign in on Elite's page. So I think this is where it is, but I'm not 100% sure. And so check in later. Let's see, is this where it is? So pre-sale, okay. I believe this is where I go. See people with white bags. I gotta get my tickets. So. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics. Welcome you to another video. And before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe. Check out the description for links to my Instagram, my whatnot, my eBay store, and my email. So this has been heavily advertised. I actually bought tickets ahead of time because my buddy Joe from 360 Comics, who was selling there, and I posted a short video with him yesterday talking about his experience as a seller at the show briefly. We had he said there's limited space, right? It was in the field house there, probably not the main one, but a field house at St. John's, where they're limited to the number of people that can be in the facility. And I mean, this was one of the best run shows I've ever been to. They had a lot of security there, directing people. They actually did a metal detector wand as you went in. But it was quick and easy. Now, I did show up later. I had actually ran to the flea market, and that's going to be another video. I ran there in the morning, and then I did, came home, took a little bit of a rest, had lunch with the kids, and then I headed out to the show because for those of you not geographically familiar with New York City and New York State, Long Island, Queens and Brooklyn are part of the island of Long Island. So I have a friend of mine who we were getting together for his birthday at night, and he lives on Long Island, so I just wanted to go across the bridge once. Well, twice because I came home. So I said, okay, let me go to the latter part of the show, and then I'll go out to his house afterwards. This was different than local shows. It was kind of unique in terms of what it was. It was different than local shows because there were bigger books there. And I ran into so many people that I know from the community in the area shopping there. And this was a great place to look for bigger books, for keys, Silver Age keys, for Golden Age books. And you'll see that from what I picked up. I had a fairly small list, and this is going to be the first of two parts because I'm going to go back tomorrow morning and I'm going to do a little more digging through the boxes. Every single book I picked up, and it's not a huge haul, is for the PC. And I do have one question about one of them, and feel free to comment below what you think. So, where did I put my books? Oh, they're behind me. They said it was much more crowded in the morning, which is not unusual for a show. So it had bigger books. And unlike a Comic Con, like New York, Baltimore, San Diego, Terrificon, whatever you want to see to eat to, it was comic books. It was probably 80 to 90% comic books. They are having Vincent D'Onofrio there tomorrow doing a signing, but it was mostly comics, and there were very few Funko Pops and toys, and there weren't swords and cosplay. It wasn't that kind of show. This was for I think a more discriminating clientele, people that were willing to spend money on comic books, that follow Elite on Instagram. And I've bought some from their claim sales. The problem is, and there were vendors from throughout the country at this show. Part of the issue with the bigger shows is there's a lot more going on. It's a lot more crowded. Might have been more crowded in the morning, but it was very well run. It was easy to get to. There was plenty of room between the vendors, and they were basically, the vendors were people that do sell on the live sales, the claim sales that Elite runs regularly. A lot of these folks are on every week or every other week, and usually they have sales weeknights at about 7 p.m. Eastern time. Unfortunately, I really can't just sit there. That's not a time when I can have to myself, right? That's prime family time. So unless the rest of the family's doing something, I go to some of their sales, but not a ton. So anyway, let's take a look. I tried to get a good look at the show floor. There were some incredible comic books there.
Which one? Oh, the action? Yeah. It's a nice action. It's such Thank you. do before.
You got a bag to put him in?
Yeah.
No, you got
All right, it's $800 for the store Batman 7.
You get 1,000 books for $100. You know what I often wonder about though? He's doing it right now. I can hear him.
In fact, right here, right now, it's Bronzeville Comics.
It's him.
He's out of the shot.
Out of here.
Yeah. I mean, did he credit?
Yeah, we always prefer casual.
It says we see.
So that was the show floor. I ended up only buying comics from 4 vendors. I was very discriminating in what I bought, and I was looking for specific things. And there were some things that I had in my mind that I didn't see anywhere. I was specifically looking that I didn't see any of the Brave and the Bold issues with the Justice League, 28, 29, and 30. I was also looking for the 3 reasonably affordable first appearances of the 7 Soldiers of Victory. That would be Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy in Action Comics 40, Vigilante in Action Comics 42, and The Shining Knight in Adventure Comics 66. What I spent most of the time was digging through Golden Age boxes. I found one book. I had other books that were found for me, but we'll explain as we go through the haul. So anyway, I only bought from 4 vendors, but I pretty much looked. I looked at everybody's wall, and I looked through a lot of back issue bins. So one of the first vendors I went to is Brixco Comics. Paul from Brixco Comics. I've gotten to know Paul. He's friends with Joe from 360 Comics. So we've had, at shows, we've, had lunch together, like at Terrificon and stuff. And he's only recently really got into this full time, and he specializes in kind of Golden Age. Great guy. He does these Instagram claim sales. He does his own claim sales. And Brixco Comics, Brixco. You can find him on Instagram. He also has a YouTube, an eBay store, which is relevant here. So he knows that I have, I've been collecting comics from May of 1946. And since he buys a lot of Golden Age collections, he keeps an eye out for me, and he'll send me a message. Do you need this? So he had one book set aside, which was Happy Comics number 12. Right? It's got a little bit of more than a little bit of a spine roll. It's misaligned. But this is just, a nice little funny animal book, just to check off the collection. And again, if you're not familiar, I chose that month and year completely randomly. And I mean randomly. I'm a statistician. Random. I used a random number generator to pick a random month and year. I don't know what my parameters were for the year during the Golden Age, because I thought that would just be something interesting to hunt. And I like it, and I'm getting more and more into it because it just is such a variety of stuff back then. Now, when I go to Golden Age bins, 46 is kind of interesting. Superheroes are still pretty strong. Funny animals are strong. We hadn't yet seen Western or romance or horror, certainly, become popular genres. You don't see those books. So I know when I'm flipping, or war. When I see those in Golden Age bins, I know those are like from the later 40s and the 50s. So anyway, Happy Comics number 12. He said, I have another one here. Do you need it? I noticed it the other day. And this is a mid-grade. It's because he didn't realize he actually has a list on his phone. This is Egbert, issue number 1. Spring, I also collect because that includes May. Anything that's April, May, or May, June as well. Basically anything that would have been the book that would have been available in the May 46 cover date, which would have been a couple months earlier. Nice clear backer board. Again, more mid to lower grade copy. Does have some staining and a tear up here, but I'm not as concerned with condition about, and he did do fix a spine roll on this of these funny animal books, right? They're, if I get them in high grade, that's fine. I can always upgrade if I come across something. So Paul had set that aside for me. Now I went into a deep dive in terms of TV, specific TV show earlier in the week, and when I should have been asleep, I was on YouTube on my phone, sitting on the couch in my family room, just kind of looking through stuff. And I don't know, it's like one of these things is you can't even trace back where one thought led to another that led you to this point. Is why am I looking at, like, trying to find episodes of this TV show on YouTube? But here we are. And so I said, I think somebody had posted a YouTube channel like, oh, wait, there was a comic book of this TV show, which is very common in the 60s and 70s. Usually 1, 2, 6 issues, right? Not long running, and from Dell. So I looked at books on eBay, and I wanted a nicer one. I saw a high grade graded book. I didn't necessarily want a graded book, but couldn't pass this up. So I was clicking on the YouTubes and or on the eBays and watching some of the items. And I'm like, holy smokes, that's Brixco's book. When I looked at the details and the seller. So I reached out to him and said, can you bring this to the show on Saturday? And it's Nanny and the Professor #1. Now, this ran for 3 seasons. It was a late season replacement in 1971. I think it premiered maybe in January 71. Ran the entire earlier 71. Finished 72. Yeah. Maybe November, December 71. And then it ran the entire, finished the 71, 72 season, ran 72, 73. And then I think it began in the fall of 73. It was canceled. And sadly, Richard Long, the professor, he passed away shortly after that. But I remember seeing this show in reruns as a kid. I probably was a little too young to remember it in prime. I probably wasn't staying awake until prime time when I was at it. But I mean, this is a 9.6, white pages, right? There is a second issue. But it's funny. You have this photo cover. Richard Long and Juliet Mills, who played Nanny. She is actually... she was at the Oscar ceremonies in 1971 for the movies that came out to 1970. It was a big deal for her because her father, John Mills, won Best Supporting Actor for Ryan's Daughter. And she ended up accepting the Academy Award for Women in Love on behalf of her friend Glenda Jackson. I also am a big fan of one of Billy Wilder's later films, Avanti, in 1972, where... she and Jack Lemmon meet each other in Italy because he has to claim his father. Both their parents passed away, and it turns out they've been having a long-running affair. So it's like the children realizing it's a funny Billy Wilder film. I enjoy that. But the thing that kind of has a place in my heart for this book is that the youngest child, Prudence, was played by Kim Richards. She was my childhood crush. It's funny, we share the same birthday. She's exactly 2 years older than I am. If you're a kid of that era, she was in Escape to Witch Mountain. If you're a fan of John Carpenter, she was in the original Assault on Precinct 13. Did not work out well for her. And she also was, I guess, more recent. She was in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I've never seen that. She's actually Paris Hilton's aunt. And her sister, I think her sister's name is Kylie, was also a child actress and was one of the kids that was babysat by Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. But anyway, Kim Richards, she was constantly on TV. She was on, I think, a regular on 4 TV series in the 1970s. They really worked her. She was in, I forget it was a TV show with Larry Hagman before this, or maybe right after this. And then she was in James at 15/16 and the much maligned Hello Larry, which I watched on a regular basis because of Kim Richards. So enough about Nanny and the Professor. Actually, sadly, the middle child, played by, was it Trent Lehman? He took his own life when he was like 20 or 21 years old. Very sad. One of those Hollywood kid stories. But anyway, this was a fun book to have in a 9.6. And then we were talking about TV books, and Paul pulls out this one and says, I said, okay, yeah, let me take that. Because I mentioned he was talking about like slabs that he had brought of file copies. And it's Car 54, Where Are You? Issue number 7. I have a couple of issues of this run. I don't think I have this one. But in a 9.4 from 1963. Come on. That's really awesome. Yeah. Both of them in older slabs. I guess these are like start with zeros. That's how old they are. Joe E. Ross and Fred Gwynn, who most people know as Herman Munster or as the judge of the Utes in My Cousin Vinny. So, yeah, this, if you've never seen this show, it is hilarious. It's all attitude. I love it. So, that is Car 54, Where Are You? Issue number 7 in a 9.4. So, that was one vendor. Then I was looking for May 1946 books, and I had my list. And what I really need to do is put my list on my CLZ so I could look at pictures of the books. I have like a Google Sheets, and it has the what I need and the issue number, but then I have to say, I'm looking at a wall, like, is that the issue I need? At least if I'm looking through back issue bins, I just look for May cover dates. But what also works is April, May, and this is what this book is. And I was really happy. I got this from Tasty Comics. It's a good, solid mid-grader, and it is Fiction House's Fight Comics number 43. I'm not sure who did the cover on this. Is that, I'm trying to think of the fellow that did, let's see. Let's look this up. Comics.org. So we're going to put in Fight Comics. Fiction House has become very popular among collectors. It did run for like this 86 issues from 1940 to 1954. So number 43. Joe Doolin cover, and he did a lot of pre-code horror later on. Senorita Rhea here in the lead story. Also Rip Carson, K.O. Kirby, and Shark Brody. And Hooks Devlin. Sounds like a bunch of 1950s relief pictures. So, yeah, this is just kind of fun to have. The on sale date. This is actually on sale New Year's Eve of 1945. But that is Fiction House number 43, April 1946. And since the next issue did not come out to June, it was bi-monthly, this fits into my May 46 list. So it's a pretty nice copy. And this was one of the ones, all of these, and this is a note to collectors, not so much when you're buying a $5 or $10 book, but all of these, books were not so much the funny animal books, but I have this one and the other raw book I got. And I don't tend to buy a lot of graded books, but whatever. I do buy some graded books. Got to look through it, page count, check for restoration. But this is real nice copy. So could clean up a little bit, but it's going in the PC. It's going to my 1946 PC. All these books are PC books. And then I was looking for, this was one of the ones on my want list for the day. And there were a few copies there. It's, the price versus the condition was kind of what I was looking for. I wouldn't at some point mind upgrading this. I'm looking to work on the run. So actually, when I go back tomorrow, I might just be looking at back issue bins to finish this particular run. And this is a run, actually, I started, more than 40 years, probably 45 years ago, working on. And I've said before on the channel, I was always a Justice League of America fan. That was my primary comic book that I collected as a kid. It was the first one that I collected every month. And I always enjoyed the team books because you got all the heroes in there, not just one or two heroes. You got them all. But when I started to go to conventions and I'm looking at Silver Age books and I'm a DC guy, I said, okay, which runs do I want to work on? And I figured I'm never gonna get every issue of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, even the Flash or Green Lantern Justice League members. So let me focus on Hawkman, Aquaman, and the Atom. I finished the other two within the last year. So Atom #1. Awesome Gil Kane cover. The funny thing about this, the Atom #1 and Aquaman #1 have no issue number on the cover. I think there also was that thought back in the day that, by distributors that, issue #1s were unproven, and if it, like that's why Showcase and Brave and the Bold were tryout books. So, Flash is in Showcase 4. Well, it's been around for 4 issues, but the Justice League of America is in Brave and the Bold 28. This has been around for a while. People are buying it. So this is Atom #1. So mid-grade. And so that's been on my want list for a while, and that completes it. Now, another book that was on my want list from my May 1946 collection, I've been looking for this one, and it's not an easy book to find. Okay? If I look, let's see. I don't know what the census count is on this. Again, this isn't one that is like an April to May book, but man, so the CG census, there are only 30 universal copies on the census. And this is a book that I have a question about, right? They had it listed for what the last sale was in this grade. I might have overpaid for one reason. I got this book from Straight Flexin. They're they have a big books out of Texas. And I did spend a little bit of time looking at their wall today. Yeah, this sold in May of last year for this price, but it wasn't this copy. There is a publicly recorded sale of this copy back in 2013. And so I was a little wary, but I have a couple of thoughts on this. So what did I pick up? You may be asking. Dynamic Comics number 18. Right? From Harry A. Chesler. One of the smaller publishers of the Golden Age, but a lot of classic covers in this particular run by Gus Rica. And somehow, I don't know why, but this guy on the front cover has an airplane head. And he's stomping this guy here. Gus Rica did most of the covers in this run, and I covered this and some of the other covers because they were the highest submissions to CGC for Harry A. Chesler in some years in the mid-40s. My concern about this is it says brittle pages. But it's a 3.5. But it presents beautifully. Okay, now my concern is, because this is a PC book, do I crack this open? I mean, it is nice. So I went on to the grader notes. Left front cover, small bend, breaks color. Yep, it's very small though. Right down there. That's probably, how long is that bend? It is like probably 1/4 inch. Don't use metric, Jim. Yeah, it's like 3/8 inch. So it is more than 1/4 inch. That's fine. The second grader note states, right bottom front cover, small bend, breaks color. Oh, no. That was the second one. Left top front cover, small bend, breaks color. It's harder to see, but it is blunted. Spine, multiple bend breaks color, but I don't see anything really deep. There is some staple stress. Bottom spine split. And I do see that. But, and you can see it more from the back. And this is why you see that, yeah, that little flap there. And then, what's the other note? Left top back cover crunch, right? Which would be fixable, right? The problem is brittle pages, right? So I'm kind of in between. I have two ideas in my head, right? Do I just keep it like this? It's a beautiful presenting book. I would say, I mean, based on what it presents like a 7, not a 3.5. I think it's the spine split and the brittle pages that bring it down. I would get some other opinions on this. I'm kind of the idea, would it be worth it to have this book conserved? Now, there are no conserved sales of this book, right? But, here's the thing. Now, it was 2022. A Universal 7.0 sold for $13,200 in May of 22. Obviously, prime boom. More recent sales is a 5.5 sold for $1,200, a 5.0 for $900. Again, if I look at the census count, there are, again, only 30 Universal, a 9.4, 3.8s, 2.75s, and a 7. So that's the top 20% of census. 23% is a 7. A 1.65, and then 5.6s. That's a common grade. The most common grades are 6 and 4.5. Whatever. There's no restored or conserved copies of this book, which is kind of interesting to have a Golden Age book with no restored copies. Is this worth getting conserved? 2 reasons. Preservation of the book, right? Eventually, if the pages are brittle enough, and brittle pages is a wide spectrum. The back is not that discolored, right? Usually you would see more tanning on the back if, we had this. And this is an old slab. The other thing is, not that if I'm going to keep in the PC, the value, if this could be a 7.0 conserved as opposed to a 3.5 universal, and you extending the life of the book, is that worth it? So that's kind of the question I have in mind. I'm in no hurry to answer that question, and I don't think it's the kind of book that is necessarily going to enhance the value a lot. The other thing, too, is you could take care of the spine split. All the paper's there, so you could do, and it looks like it's only a 1/2 inch. It looks like from what I can see, the rest of the spine looks intact. I'm pretty sure the rest of the spine is intact. Even if it's not, and that is another reason, that can all be taken care of. The thing about this book that I like, and let me know what you think in the comments below. No staining, no major creases, all the paper's here. Upon retirement, if I decide to do a little more work with, conservation, if I dabble in that and work on some lower price books first, this would be, as a pet project, something that would be, I think, worth, because I think you could get a big, it really, now, colors do pop when there's more tanning on the interior cover of books, but man, this looks gorgeous. I just let me take it out of the Mylar bag. I'm not seeing it in its full effect. Kind of has to be squeezed in there because it is a thicker Golden Age book. but it is just a lot of fun to have this. The thing that makes me a little disappointed is I only really have a few books to read from this. Oh my, this looks fantastic. Fantastic. There might be a tiny little beginning of a spine split at the top, but that it presents very well for a 3.5. So that curb appeal is great. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's in the PC for now. Again, if I just leave it as is, that's going to be fine. Like I said, if I do find the time in the future to do some conservation work, this could be a little personal project, right? And then I might build up equity and then, you know, sell this to get, you know, a higher universal grade. Something like that. Anyway, I don't tend to like 3.5s, but that just looked so good. And the price was spot on. And I got a little bit off their asking. So I was happy to take it home. So that's the haul from day one of the Elite_Comics 11 Expo, the first one. And I'm going to be going back tomorrow morning. So I guess I'll be doing another video on that. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.